This week, we're joined by Paul LaPiana, the head of Mass Mutual brand, product, and affiliated distribution. Paul has over 20 years experience in the financial service industry. He's here to talk about those 20 years in the business, lessons he's picked up along the way, and the current and future outlook of our industry. I'm Paul Blanco, and this is Small Steps, Big Wins. All right, Paul LaPiana, welcome to Small Step, Big Wins. I'm so happy to have you on the show today. And I know with your crazy schedule, it's hard, but I appreciate you making the time to be on. And I feel like today will, for all our listeners, this will be a masterclass on what's going on in the industry and how to position yourself and what you have seen. But Paul, when I was thinking about the show today, the cool thing is you wore so many hats over your career in the business. So I'd love you to just give us kind of where you started and how you got where you are today.
Yeah. Well, Paul, thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate the friendship, most importantly, but the partnership and what you and your organization have been doing to change the game in the financial services industry, because it is real and sometimes not talked about enough. So I actually had no idea what I was going to do coming out of college in 1992. My college roommate, Dave Cahall, his father was a equivalent of a general agent at Equitable back in the day. He knew he was going to get into the insurance and financial services industry. And so he did. He was about 6 months ahead of me in graduation. I was talking to him. I had no options. And so I said, I'm going to, go ahead and try this as well. So I got a suit from 3-Day Suit Broker, one pair of Johnston Murphys and 2 shirts. And Dave and I started cold calling our way into the business. And at night we were cold calling baby leads and mortgage leads. And during the day we were walking business parks, trying to get people to talk to us about group health and or, like SEPs and SAR-SEPs and 401ks. And so that was the journey. And the cool thing is Dave and I, after we were informal, just grinding it out partners, we formalized the business and we had a real team back in the day. About 8 years in the business, we started to have a real go at it. And then we got asked by our general agent, who was a mentor to us, to leave our practice and start a third-party distribution organization for AXA Equitable and take their products to wirehouses and independent broker-dealers and banks on the insurance side, and started doing a lot of kind of advanced estate planning and a point-of-sale model. From there, I followed some senior leadership and started that same business at MetLife, ran that for about 7-8 years, and then got the opportunity to lead our career agency distribution and help shape the MetLife Premier Client Group with Paul Blanco and a bunch of his peers and some of our top advisors, and then got sold to Mass Mutual in 2016 and had a couple additional roles since then. But it's been an amazing learning journey. And the funny thing is my buddy Cahall is still in the business, still at Equitable, 30 plus years. I've had a couple stops because of a choice and an acquisition, but have been with some great companies and tried to have a positive impact. And it's been just a great experience for me personally and professionally.
Yeah, and it's been great working with you all the years I have. I think we're probably 20 plus years we've been working together. Yeah. And it's been amazing just watching your path. I have, it's interesting. A lot of people got into the business the way you did, but was there a point in the business where you were like, all right, this is my career? Or did that happen immediately? Or was there a point that you said, I'm all in now?
So it definitely didn't happen immediately. The first 5 years was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. And I would say there was no plan B. So this was like, you're all in and there's nowhere else to go. And what was the turning point was we used to cold call small businesses literally face to face. And we ended up cold calling a company called the Southern California Marine Association. And we did a little SEP plan. It's like 6 employees, little group health plan. And they said, hey, by the way, we run all of the boating industry, events in Southern California. Do you guys want to sponsor one? And we're like, well, what do you mean? And they're like, well, at the time it was IDS and PaineWebber, and they all had booths at these industry shows. And why wouldn't you guys do it? So we're like, yeah, of course we would. So we didn't have the money. So we borrowed $600 from my dad. And he said, literally, this is the worst $600 I've ever spent. And I'll never see it coming back, but he gave it to us. We put up a booth. And the interesting thing was timing is everything, and hard work creates luck and timing.
Yep.
And at that time, Northrop and the Metro Transit Authority and McDonnell Douglas were going through downsizing. And a lot of people that are in the boating industry are folks that were like engineers or public servants. And all of a sudden, these people are walking through the halls, and they literally were like, hey, I have this 401k rollover thing happening, or hey, I'm getting a defined benefit buyout back in the day. Like, do you all do that? And from that one show, it fundamentally changed our career, because we, over the next 12 to 15 months, for us, this was a lot, brought in like $6-7 million of AUM, and then had a network of people that continually got these options that were a feeder for our business. Now, the other interesting thing that happened, if you think about the people that are in those boat shows that are, have their booths, there's the big manufacturers like a Ski Nautique, and we didn't deal with them very much. There's all these little companies. And we were the only guys that didn't sell hours for advisors to sit in the booth. We were there the entire time. And when no one's there on a Wednesday, who's there? There's a bunch of small business owners talking to each other. And we were part of that group. And so not only did we get the individual retail opportunity, we met a bunch of small, let's call it manufacturers and service providers in the boating industry that we did split dollar, estate planning, 401k, group health, and it literally paved the way. And we started to turn the corner, and that was game changing for us.
Amazing. Thank God your dad didn't ask for a piece of the profit on the $600 that he gave.
Dude, it would have taken us 3 years to literally pay him back, but he's got it back in other ways.
Yes, he did. And it's interesting because, I always like to ask that question, because some point in your career as an FA, especially when it clicks and it's over, then it's just a matter of what you want to grow and how you want to grow it. And you took a very different approach than the traditional person when you did that. So I really, really is amazing. And I think that when I look at where you are today and you went through your past, well, you're the head of MassMutual brand, product, and affiliated distribution. And I remember when you got appointed, I was like, wow, this is exactly all the things you've done, from being an advisor to third party to product. You've taken all the skill sets that you've gained over the years, and now you get to apply it to this role that you have today. And, I can't be more thankful for you being in that role. But when I look at it, the industry, I think, is at a big inflection point right now. We've seen it being stagnant in terms of the amount of advisors that have been for a long period of time. Distribution is, companies that continue to shrink and shrink. I remember, my first LAMP meeting back in, say, 93. There was probably 60 to 70 insurers represented there. And now, it's maybe 10 or 12 when you look at it. What do you, when you think first distribution, because then I want to get into the FAs and the clients, but what are you seeing out there now? And what's your thoughts of, what the industry is doing now and where you see it going?
Yeah, so I'll just we'll zoom out here, and there's a lot of different stuff that's going on, but we literally just got off, our second rating agency meeting, and I wish we could have taped Roger Crandall's just overview of what's going on in the industry, and we are very fortunate to have a leader like him. He's an amazing CEO. But a couple things that I would say that are impacting the industry. One is advice and guidance is at a high point in the industry. The complexity for average people, for business owners, even high net worth people to navigate through the how do I own my assets? What assets do I own? How do I get to the finish line in retirement? Most people are not able to navigate all of those decisions and understand how all of the different products and solutions come together. to deliver the best outcomes for them. And if you combine that with aging population, and literally in 2030, 20% of this country's retirement eligible, the question is can they retire? The other thing that E&Y did a great study on is, it's not great news, but it's a great study and validates what we do for a living. $230 trillion retirement savings gap, $160 trillion insurance savings gap, and 90% of this industry uses planning just to gather assets and put people into a 60-40 portfolio thinking that's going to stick the landing, and it's not. So you think about the integration of advice, whether it's fee or non-fee, with the expertise of protection, annuities, and investments, and how that delivers the best outcome and security and tax efficiency for clients. That is the opportunity for us. And there's not a lot of our competitors in the industry that even know what I just said. And that's a challenge because there's only 300,000 advisors. And to your point, there used to be a lot of career companies back in the day, and they demutualized. And as soon as they demutualized, they got rid of their career agency system and they started selling through advisors that are predominantly investment-only advisors, securities-based advisors, and no one's bringing that protection and that annuity expertise to help people. The other thing that's kind of crazy on this kind of theme is 84 trillion, probably now 100 trillion, because the equity markets over the next 20 years are going from Gen 1 to Gen 2 to Gen 3. And it's how do you efficiently transfer that wealth from one generation to the next so that you are leaving the legacies that people want to leave. And so advice and guidance is the headline. We need more people to be doing it, and not enough companies are recruiting, and people are aging out of the industry, and protection expertise is significantly aging out of the industry. So that's a big bucket. I think the second big bucket is years back, people thought that Amazon was going to be the ones that took over advice and guidance. And what's happened is it's really the alternative asset managers that have owned life insurance and annuity companies that are changing the game. And so you think about Apollo and Athene. You think about a KKR owning Global. You think about Ares owning Aspida. So all of these alternative asset managers who have to raise these funds, which is not always easy, are now using annuities predominantly. And they were buying closed blocks. Then they did reinsurance deals. And now they own actually the front end of the insurance company like Athene. Who would have ever thought they're the number one annuity player in the industry? And 5 years ago, no one even knew who they were. So at the end of the day, they have said a couple things. These liabilities that come in the form of right now annuities and PRT, not life insurance yet, are a source of permanent capital to feed our asset management business so we don't have to go raise the money. And oh, by the way, we're better than the incumbent insurers on asset management. So we can go do direct private credit and private equity, get better returns. Now, they are taking more risk in a lot of ways, but they're getting better returns. And that allows them to deliver good shareholder return, but also have more competitive products. And so that has changed the game fundamentally for us as an incumbent insurer. Now, the good news is we own Barings, and we've been doing this for years, but we haven't done it at scale the way that Apollo's doing it. And so we're on that journey to be able to compete favorably with the new competitors in the market. I think the third thing I would hit is on distribution. That's also changed. The PE money sees all of these advice and guidance trends and this wealth transfer trends. So what are they doing? They're buying up distribution, whether that is the independent broker dealers or whether that is the fragmented RIA space, and they're cobbling together AUM, which is healthy, recurrent, low capital earnings that deliver great multiples when they exit. Now, the key is those private equity organizations need to exit. And to exit, having 8 broker dealers on separate platforms is not a great exit strategy. So for those independent advisors that thought they went to a place that now is owned by PE, There's going to be a lot of change and volatility to them and their clients because you got to get on common operation platforms, technology platforms, and get scale to get the margins out of the business that will give them the valuation they need on the way out. So this is going to be an interesting dynamic as advisors are hanging their shingle. And what I like about what we're doing, and then I'll pause because there's a couple other things I would add, but you look like you wanted to ask a question, is I think about the mutual structure. We always think about that in the manufacturing lens, long-term business, not 5 years, not 10 years, 20, 30 years, and all decisions to be able to support our policyholders and stakeholders, of which MMFA, you as general agents and our advisors are part of that. All of this volatility going on because somebody's owned by somebody that has an exit strategy, and we're going to play the long game. We're going to continue to invest. We're going to continue to upgrade our product, our technology, and our platform, and not have the chaos that advisors and clients are going to go through when these organizations look to improve their margins and exit their organization. So super bullish on where we sit as an organization.
Well, and where I was going to go with it, when you opened up with the protection annuities and asset management being that wealth manager, and then you go to this technology thing, it's really almost virtually impossible for 8 companies to get onto one common thing, and they're not able to do that. And advisors are so attached to some of the stuff they've been using, and now they're trying to change, but they're reluctant to do that. It's funny. I was away on a trip recently, and I met an advisor. I was at a cooking lesson, and this advisor's there, and he comes up to me and says, I heard you're in the financial service industry, because another person there told him. So I was a little taken back. I said, is it dressed or something? But afterwards we had a drink, and he's 62 years old.
Yep.
He sold his company. He did his earnout. He's 3 years in, owned by 2 PE firms. And he said, I'm really at an inflection point. Him and my wife and I came here because we're deciding if I'm going to stay or not, because they're willing to let me stay. I'd like to stay, but I'm going to probably leave. And he went through it 30 minutes. He said, this is like a therapy session. And he goes, the reason I'm leaving is they want me to go on this thing called Salesforce.
Yep.
And I started chuckling, and I said, I would never go on that tool. That's the worst tool in the industry. And he said, you really think that? I said, no. And I had one of my advisors was with me. And I said, that's our whole model, is we scaled with that thing. But that's what you just said is real. I just saw that 2 weeks ago. And it's kind of sad when you think about, he said, I just use files and I had paper and, folders. Yep. And now they want me to evolve on this, which will probably help him grow his business, but he can't see that at the stage of his career that he's in,
Yep. And I was going to hit technology. We just came off I did a really cool global BlackRock executive forum, like 30 of us. And, we got to hear from Larry Fink and a lot of the things that they're doing. And we got to share a bunch of industry thoughts and trends amongst one another. And one of the things that, people have grappled with is technology, even Gen AI, going to replace face-to-face distribution? And, I've always been, and sometimes you think about this as old thinking, but look, I could Google anything 3 years ago, and now I can chat GPT anything, right? And as a consumer, it gives me 90% of the answer. The challenge is, how do you take information and turn it into wisdom? And that's what the advisor does. They understand how to get all of those different options that clients have, whether it's product or how you own your assets in your estate, out of your estate, how you set up your beneficiaries, all of that, and actually turns it into wisdom and outcomes that information can't do. Now, where does technology come in is an enabler for our advisors to help them scale their practices to serve more people, to have more productivity, deliver on the promises that they've made to some people on this phone and call, and thousands of people. And how do you do that? Technology does that a lot for them and their staff. And that's where we see the technology-enabled advisor being able to deliver better experiences for clients, connect to clients in the way those clients want to consume information and get access, but also just be way quicker on how they get things done. And the other thing I would say is there's no one platform that actually does it all in the industry. It's literally a cobbled together web of a CRM or multiple to a trading platform, a reporting platform, et cetera. And so what we've got to do, like with A360, is continue to get better, continue to enhance it, and then add into the things like, a chat GPT like advisor assistant, and or like things like Zoom note taking, to use that technology just to make our business better, faster, and easier for the people that are out there serving in clients. So that is where our head is at, because I think it's really hard for the products we sell and the needs people are trying to accomplish, that we are replaced advisors because of an app, because of technology. It's an enhancement. It's not a replacement.
I agree. And you've watched, I remember starting out, direct mail was 5% of the business. Then robos became 5%. And those are both really not even grown from there. And nothing will replace that. And I think advisors today have to be more like life coaches. And that wisdom that you're talking about is, how do you put it all together and help the people deliver the life that they want to have in the most orderly fashion? And I do agree with you on the technology. There's two pieces to it, right? One is what you deliver to the client, but the other one is when you run your practice, if you want to keep those margins, you need that scale. And it truly becomes a game of inches, where advisors can now, like, I look at Zoom, and I pretty much say this on every show, I look at RFAs here, they were able to get a lift. COVID brought so many bad things, but they went from seeing the best from 15, 20 clients a week to 40, because they were able to use this technology like this. And by the way, that's not going to happen again. Now, 4 years later, they have to look for inches and little gains here to continue to build their scalability to grow. So I agree with you, Paul. Let's talk about the advisors today. When you look at it, let's stay on the senior one, because then I want to go to new people coming in the business. But when you look at what do they have to do, you've painted this great picture of what distribution and these companies are doing and where the puck's going. But when you look at the advisor's practice, what do you think they have to do to be prepared for where this is going?
Yeah. So a couple things. One is, a lot of us, and I was one of them, started out in this career path industry as a salesperson. And to be a successful advisor today, to have the scale and have the resources to actually support people the way that they want to be supported, you got to think about it as a business owner and a business leader, not a salesperson. It's not about a transaction. It's about a multi-decade relationship. And so you got to think differently. I think the other thing is you got to have the expertise to actually bring the value to what the right clients are wanting from advisors. And this industry is complex, like protection, annuities, and wealth. And think about the products and the solutions that each one of just those sleeves requires. It's really hard for a solo practitioner to actually be really good at all of those things. And so I do have a very firm belief that the team-based model, whether it is true partnerships of advisors or having junior advisors, having employees that are advisor-like, you need those specialists either embedded in your practice or through your general agent, in a supported independence model, to help you make sure you are checking the boxes for the clients in the way they need to. And I would say it's almost impossible for the individual advisor to do that on their own. I also think the technology, that we just talked about, you can't exist in a paper-based world anymore. We as a distribution organization, you as a general agency, and advisors need to work together to bring the experience level up for our clients that we serve. Also the productivity level up so that we can deliver on the promises to the people that we are, making these promises to. And I think that's a shift for a lot of advisors. And if you look at advisors right now, 40% of them are over 55. a lot of them aren't using the tools that they need to literally do the things I just mentioned. And I think the last thing, which you all have been a leader in, and I remember you saying this to me and I didn't know what it meant 20 years ago, is I want to be a financial services organization that is the best marketing firm in the industry. And so I'm going to use B2 because we are going to roll that out to the broader MMFA. And if I'm an advisor and I wake up to the chaos that I know I see on my email and voicemail, how do you actually be smarter? You don't have time to look into all of your clients and help them. And so things like B2 that I could actually wake up, turn on my computer and have 15 of the right people to be talking to, that allows me to be way smarter than anybody else in the industry, deliver for my clients that have those things that need to be delivered upon. And what does that do in a compressing margin environment? Allows me to drive more revenue and keep my margins up because I'm thinking differently with data and analytics. And so I think those are some of the foundational things that are really important as people start to grow and scale their practice and stay relevant.
Well, and your point earlier, and yes, I agree with you in B2, and I know the partnership will be amazing. But I think that when you think of those products that were sold 10, 15, 20 years ago, there's so many nuances to them.
Yep.
Maybe that advisor's not even in the business anymore and someone else is managing that. And if you don't have the tools to help the client, the advisor help the client, how do you do that? It's almost virtually impossible, you know?
And that is the one, we're doing some pilots with Gen AI, various parts of the business, not consumer facing. This pilot, we're going to roll out Ava, which is Advisor Virtual Assistant, which is right to your point. Just think about the folks that have been at Mass Mutual for years or inherited those books of business. All these generations, the products we sold. And to think about servicing it and getting the right form, the right beneficiary, it's crazy town. So using our own data, we're creating that sandbox that says, hey, I've got this product form and it pops up the things I need to know. I don't got to go call a CSR, have them do a bunch of green screen work and hope to get the right form. So it's just things like that help productivity and ease of pain of managing these enforced blocks that grow over time.
Yeah. And by the way, we're a company that's still thriving and in business. There's many of them that are out of distribution, which makes
100%.
That makes it even more difficult, you know? So when Paul, switching gears a little bit, when you look at your new role,
Yep.
How has your day-to-day changed from, what you've done in the past, and what's it like now?
Yeah. So it's interesting. So somebody asked me, okay, you got this new role, like, congratulations. How do you think your life is going to change? And I said, well, I think I'm going to be like traveling a lot more, and you're going to have different audiences, just like we were on the rating agency today and the board meeting, 2 weeks ago. I would say I had no idea how much my life would change. And the crazy thing is the amount of information that I need to consume now to stay relevant in the role that I am in is miles apart from where I was before, right? Because now my day to day, and it has evolved this direction, but now it's like to the nth degree. It went from a lot more tactical, activity-based, task-driven, activities. And I always keep a full calendar because somebody told me my first week in the business, if you don't have 15 appointments a week, you're fired. I've taken that activity to heart, and I always have now. It's like 30 appointments a week, but now I need more time to think and read strategically, because now when I'm talking to Roger, who's literally a savant on this stuff, is we're influencing the decision, not for 6 months, but for 10 years on the strategy of this company. And so to understand what's going on in the broader markets, economically, the regulatory framework, demographics, immigration and what that means to the economy, interest rates and equity markets. Like, dude, I am learning stuff that I hadn't learned before, so I can be relevant in conversations to make sure we're optimizing the great hand we've been dealt with this mutual company. And for me, I grew up in an execution operation mindset, and that is my comfort zone. Now I'm uncomfortable because I'm not like checking boxes every day. I'm actually trying to read a bunch of stuff to prepare for a meeting with our board or Roger, the rating agencies, to check a box 7 years from now, right? And making sure we're doing the right things today and delegating them to the right people to execute that playbook. And so that's a big difference for somebody that literally was freaking get it done. That's my mentality my entire career.
Well, you still are, but just differently.
Exactly.
And it's not finite anymore. It's infinite. And that's a major paradigm shift. And when advisors look at their business, I remember advisors coming into me and saying, hey, when I get to 1 million of production, you'll never see me again. And that was very finite. Now they're doing 2, 3, and they've changed their mindset to infinite. So it's amazing. And I can tell you, I opened up with this as a master class for all the listeners here. Please go back and play this again and take some notes when you hear all the things of where this business is going and what you have to evolve to. I've not worked with anyone like you, Paul, that's so far ahead. So you wouldn't think that you're just cramming this stuff in your new role. You really got a great pulse on the business. I mean, with that said, what are some of the challenges that you see on the horizon now for, us and for the industry? Like there's a lot coming at us, basically the picture you just painted.
Yeah, I would say one of the biggest challenges just going to the advice and advisor, population out there is demand. You could argue is at an all-time high for advice and guidance. Supply is continuing to erode. And there's 300,000 advisors in this industry. If you look at Cerulli and the way people count it, 40% of them are 55 or older, and 1/3 of them, 100 grand, are going to retire in the next decade. There isn't enough companies bringing in advisors at the scale that used to be going on when I started in the business. And you said it, like when I started, if you showed up at LAMP or even at AALU or MDRT, there was 30, 40 healthy life insurance companies with career systems. There was a growing independent organization from advisors leaving career, going there. There was a heavy dose of banks and wires recruiting. They were also feeding some of the independents because independents are recruiting new people into the business. It was really the banks and wires and us. And if you think about it today, there's really like 4 career agency systems left. There's really 4 or 5 wires and banks at scale. And we're not bringing new talent into the industry as you see people's needs continually going up. And so that is a big thing that I get worried about is the relevancy of what we actually do. Now, what does it mean for people on this phone and you and I? Hey, it's opportunity because we're going to be in more demand, but it's not good for the country given where people are saved under and insured under. Like that's a big deal. The other thing that I am passionate about, and I'm all about wealth management, I'm all about financial planning and balance, but the insurance industry is completely aging away. So when I see new people come in, and I'm a CFP, right? So I see people going, I want to manage money. I want to be a CFP. I want to be a CFA. And that's all awesome, right? But all the people I looked up to at AALU, now Fonseca, are in their 80s. And the new people coming in have no understanding of life insurance and what it means as an asset, not an expense, in your estate and out of your estate, and the value it brings to business owners, to regular people like my family, and to high net worth people. And that expertise is completely gone because the banks don't have it, the wires don't have it, the RIAs don't have it, we have it. But again, there's only like 4 of us that are actually doing it at scale. So
and based on the aging, it's going to be shorter. Yeah.
Exactly. No, and I always tell, and I just did a firm kickoff meeting, and I literally was on the stage. And I was looking at this guy who was like 28 going, what in the hell is this guy talking about? And I said, if I'm you, I'm going to get my CFP. I'm going to get my 7, get my 66, right? But I'm going to learn the business and estate planning business cold, because in 5 years, you'll be one of the 100 people in Atlanta, in the South, that understand this, and you're going to crush it.
And I agree with you. And I think the stat, and keep me honest on this one, but I heard there's only like 9% of the advisors in the industry are under 30.
That's right.
So if you have 40% over 55 and 9% under 30, we got a huge problem ahead of us, you know?
Those are a couple that there's a lot of stuff. Regulatory frameworks got some things we have to deal with. But those are the things that jump off at me is we need more advisors. We need more educated advisors that are doing more things for clients, not just assets, not just insurance, but everything. And that just is not a thing happening in the industry today.
It's really sad at the time. And, you know, I look at that and I feel so blessed as you do to be in this industry. And I want to do, you know, one of the reasons I started Small Steps, Big Wins was to help advisors in the industry to take some of the knowledge and that we've had for years and that they could apply it to their practice to grow, because we need to grow this to help the consumer. You know, last thing, like when you look at your role today, and let's not go too far out, when we look at 25 and 26, like what's keeping you up now? And what are you saying personally and professionally? What do I got to do in 25 to continue to take this opportunity really to the next level?
Yeah. So I would say, I feel that, and again, you know, I get to see a lot of friends at a lot of different places, and there's a lot of good companies in this industry. And I feel blessed to be sitting at a mutual company because it is differentiated value proposition with the scale that we have in all of our chosen businesses, whether it's institutional or retail, with the financial strength and capital to actually back, the liabilities to deliver in the future. And with people begging literally for us to get on their shelves because they want what I just said in a partner, right? Like there's so much embarrassment of riches. The thing that I am up at night around is around Mass Mutual Financial Advisors. And if we don't seize the opportunity that we have in front of us, we missed one of the biggest opportunities that will be in front of our home office partners and executives, our general agents, and our advisors. And what I mean by that, if demand is up and supply is down, most of the industry doesn't understand insurance business and estate planning and are using basically a 60-40 portfolio to get to the finish line. And we have the DNA to do all of it. This organization sitting at 6,000, 6,500 advisors today, if we're not sitting at 8,000 advisors feeling really damn good about the value prop we have with wealth, proprietary insurance and annuities, non-proprietary insurance and annuities, and technology and comp and benefits as a value prop with supported independence from general agents that you give them locally so they can sit in front of their clients and do what advisors should be doing, which is advice and guidance, right? Like if we don't stick that landing, we missed it, because we have the makings of one of the best distribution organizations in the industry, the patience of mutuality and long-term capital, and a CEO that's like, guys, go. Like I will write checks to improve our platform, give you capital to recruit, give you capital to buy practices if advisors want to grow that way, to enhance our technology. You guys just need to execute. And that is the one thing that I'm fearful of, because I'm not the dude executing every day. Like that used to be me, but now I got to trust people, and it is my leadership team, but it's also the general agents and it's also the advisors to understand it, internalize it, and feel like let's freaking go. because it is game changing. Because I would stand this channel up to anybody in the industry, and I've spent years in those other places, and I have friends at all of them. And I think we're betting with a really good hand. We just got to optimize it, and that's what keeps me up at night because I don't want to miss it.
Well, I can say that when I think of small steps, big wins, you've taken tons of small steps, and where you are at and your passion for where the industry is going. If you're an FA listening today, take Paul's advice here. And if you're building something or you're in the GA world, CEO of a firm, like position yourself for this boom. And when you look at, we've been hearing about the boomers and we didn't really go into that, but you talked about all the trillions of dollars. The opportunity for everyone is amazing now. And clients truly need that advice and not that siloed advice that you talked about earlier with just managing their wealth. And I can't thank you enough for your leadership. I can tell you that I'm ready to go big here because I'm fired up and you inspire me and I learn from you every day, Paul. So I can't thank you enough for your leadership and your passion. Thanks so much for being on the show. As I said earlier, this is a masterclass on where the puck is going. So follow the puck, guys, and you will crush it in this business. So thanks again for being on the show today, Paul.
Thank you, buddy. I appreciate your friendship, and I learn from you every single day as well. And you inspire me in so many different ways. And you guys are doing great things, and let's continue to do it. Let's take this opportunity and change the game.
100%. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Small Steps, Big Wins. Please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
All opinions expressed by the program participants are solely their current opinions and do not reflect the opinions their respective parent companies or affiliates or the companies with which the program participants are affiliated. Investments or strategies mentioned in this program may not be suitable for you, and you should make your own independent decision regarding them. This material does not take into account your particular investment objectives, financial situation, or needs, and is not intended as recommendations appropriate for you. You should strongly consider seeking advice from your own investment advisor. Securities and investment advisory services offered through qualified registered representatives of MML Investor Services, LLC. Member SIPC, 6 Corporate Drive, Shelton, Connecticut, 06484, telephone number 203-513-6000.